Pat McAfee going back to his hometown of Pittsburgh. Actually, he's from Plum, but it's all Pittsburgh. He's having an event tonight at PPG Paints Arena, and it's got that WWE vibe to it, and I think it's a WWE event, although it's not emblazoned on it. It feels like the WWE set it all up. What better place and time and moment for the spotlight to go on the entrance, like at a wrestling show when there's that they come out and they play the theme music, and here's Aaron Rodgers, and he's got a pen and he's got a paper, and maybe Mike Tomlin's there too, and they meet, and he sits down and he signs his contract as thousands.
You sound like such an excited
Pittsburgh
Steelers
residents.
fan. Look at you.
But I'm just saying that would be a perfect moment to do it. But the fact that it would be a perfect moment and people are talking about it and expecting it makes it less likely that Rodgers would do it that way. I think it's more likely at this point that Mike Tomlin shows up and tells the assembled audience, we're out on Aaron Rodgers, and throws the microphone down and walks out. That's more likely at this point than Rodgers showing up and signing.
I feel like, there'd be a little more, we would have a little bit of an inkling, a little bit more behind that if we thought that was going to happen. Unless they keep it that quiet and it happens tonight.
But
that would be
people
amazing.
are already talking about it and thinking about it and expecting it, even if there isn't any fingerprint.
Yeah.
Or if, and I haven't heard what McAfee said about it.
I blame you. You started all this crap.
That's okay. But I don't know that. I mean, first of all, that assumes he wants to do it. That assumes that he's already decided to do it, and he specifically and deliberately held it to help out McAfee and A.J. Hawk and make this production, go bonkos, because that's where Aaron Rodgers showed up and said he was signing with the Steelers. That doesn't seem like his way.
Right.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Tune in tonight. They're going to stream the thing on YouTube, and we'll find out whether or not Aaron Rodgers tells the world tonight he's going to sign with the Steelers. I'm betting no.
I'm betting no, too.
But I'm curious still as to whether there'll be any inkling
here's
or any idea of what's going to happen.
I am too. And here, just like, because of what you talked about, like he could show up at training camp. I don't think Mike Tomlin, and he certainly could. But I just, again, getting into what we kind of know or learn about people through their career is, Aaron Rodgers, that's where he is different than Brett Favre. Brett Favre was just like, and everybody knew, like, oh, he's just going to show up and he's going to play, and he might throw into triple coverage. He might throw to the open guy. We don't know, but it's usually good results. That's just Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. You run the slant route like this one time, he hits you. You run it a different way another time, he goes, I hit you. I don't care, right? Aaron Rodgers is a little more like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He's like, no, I want you to take a 45-degree angle on your release, and then I want you to hit your outside foot and then make a 90-degree angle break to go back inside, right? He's like that. That's where I'd have – I feel like he would be uneasy with not being there and being around some of the details on a day-to-day basis. And why I say that – right? Because I think he is obsessive like that, and that's why he's awesome and one of the all-time greats. But because of that, that's why I think the Minnesota thing. Because if the Minnesota thing was just shut and no way you go there, I think he goes to Pittsburgh and he goes, let's get this started. Let me get DK Metcalf and Freiermuth, like Florio said, all on the same page and all my signals and everything, and let's go. But I think he's not doing that because he's holding out hope for your Minnesota Vikings. Ooh, you like it, Aaron Rodgers, eh?
It's going to be the Eagles or the Bears, the two participants in the Fog Bowl.
What about the Steelers? You won't jump to the Steelers?
No.
You love the Steelers. What are you talking about?
I play along with you when when this comes up because it's funny. Let me tell you something. The Vikings and the Steelers met in Super Bowl IX. One of the few opportunities when I was a child for the Vikings to win a Super Bowl. I hated the Steelers growing up. Now, look, I'll admit, by the end of the decade, the Vikings had faded. They were playing the Rams. The Steelers were in Super Bowl 14, and I was kind of rooting for the Steelers, and I felt bad about it, but the Vikings were doing the downward slope, and I wanted to, it didn't feel right. It felt icky to me, but I remember I was kind of hoping the Steelers would win the game. But no, I hated the Steelers. 1974, 75, 76, and since then it's not an issue. It's 50 years later. But no, there was a hatred there after they beat the Vikings 16-6 in Super Bowl IX at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans. Now, I got an email from a viewer.
Right.
And I should have thought of this too.
Okay.
Because if Aaron Rodgers happens to show up tonight, if the spotlight goes to the entrance and he emerges, I suggested a theme song yesterday, old song by Dennis Leary. I'll let you come to your own conclusion as to what the song is. But a viewer has suggested the only song that would be perfect, the song that would create the bond between Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers fans. And we all know what the song is. I should have thought of it. Cue Renegade.
Oh, yeah, I thought
Renegade.
that's what you meant before. I honestly, when you were like, they're going to play that song when he comes out.
I hadn't thought of that.
I thought that's what you meant when you say that song. I thought you were referring to Renegade.
I should have thought of that. I've been so busy thinking of a snarky song option that would encapsulate Aaron Rodgers like that Dennis Leary classic from the late 80s, early 90s, that I didn't think of Renegade. And Renegade makes sense.
Yes,
as soon as they say, "Oh, Mama, I am fear for my life," and the light comes on and he's standing there and the crowd loses its shit because it's Renegade. It's the best way to artificially force the Steelers fans to accept Aaron Rodgers. How could they not accept the guy who comes out to the first bars of Renegade?
It would be well played if that's what they did. That should be the way he comes in. You're right. If he does do it tonight, yeah.
Now I'm starting to hope it happens.
Yes.
Now I'm starting to hope it.
Yeah.
In part because it'd keep him out of Minnesota.
And no matter what you say about the 70s and all that, reasonable minds may differ. And I have too many people that watch this show that still would say, Mike likes the Pittsburgh Steelers, whether he wants to admit it or not. So I'm not going to buy all that story you said there. I think there's a love in your heart somewhere there.
I look at it this way. I've got 50-plus years of kind of institutional knowledge of how the Steelers operate. I've got a good instinct of what they do, how they do it.
You do.
And their trends and their ups and their lows and their highs and their downs. And I, like, every once in a while I'll nail a Steelers upset because it just feels like this is a day the Steelers are going to win. I can't explain it other than it feels. I've had many days like
You're
this.
Quite annoying,
and it just
actually.
Feels like it feels like one of those days the Steelers are going to win.
Meatballs came from.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Exactly. But still. I've been asked, hey, wait a minute. If the Steelers are your second favorite team and the Vikings are your favorite team, why do you want Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers and you don't want him in Minnesota? Can you please explain it? And the difference is the Vikings have J.J. McCarthy. They have a guy who they need to figure out what his ceiling is. They need to get him out there. Maybe he can be an Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he can develop into a championship quarterback. Why do you want to slow down that growth by another year? Last year, okay, he got injured. This year, he's not injured. You don't want to bring in a guy that would be veteran insurance. You want that guy. You don't want to bring in the guy that's going to take over and send J.J. McCarthy to the bench. So I think that's obvious. The two teams are in very different spots when it comes to their quarterback position. One has a top 10 pick who is untapped, and the other's got Mason Rudolph.
Exactly.
I'm sorry that Mason Rudolph keeps catching strays, and they're not all that stray, but J.J. McCarthy versus Mason Rudolph. That's why Aaron Rodgers fits better in Pittsburgh than Minnesota.
Yeah, agreed. I hear you there. I understand that. And I think that's the big question. And that's what Minnesota's got to figure out, and I understand your thinking there too. Do you want to trade 1 year for maybe greatness with Aaron Rodgers, but lose 10 years of possible, unbelievable play and greatness with J.J. McCarthy just to chase this 1 year? That I understand your thought there. And I get you not wanting Aaron Rodgers and wanting the J.J. McCarthy and starting the young nucleus there with the receivers and all that and building something. I totally get that. I totally do. But as we know, a team is only ready or has a window open every now and then, and circumstances were a little weird with him getting hurt and the Sam Darnold, and they've made all the right moves, and the team is ready, And that's where things have changed, and I think they look at it the same way and go, damn, we're kind of in the window, and can J.J. McCarthy get us through the window in his first year as a starter? And I think that's a legitimate question, too. So I can see every side of the story on this one.
And there's a nagging sense that the Vikings have some vague concern that McCarthy's not going to be the guy. And maybe it's just, and I've said this a few times, and I don't care any of the aggregators or the various blog sites out there that want to take our words and twist them out of context. That's fine, but I'm always going to push back if you do. You're going to get pushback, especially here. I've said a couple of times that history would tell us if there's going to be a bust in this class, it's him, just because everybody else is working out. And you're going to have a 6-for-6 sweep of quarterbacks who become, by all appearances, good quarterbacks. That's nothing directly about J.J. McCarthy. It could be anybody. I'm just talking about statistics. I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy is going to be the bust. All I'm saying is, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, we've got all the other guys that were picked last year that look pretty damn good.
Right.
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, Bo Nix,
Drake May.
Yep. Right? 5 for 5 so far. We go 6 for 6. That's unprecedented. 5 for 5's on 5 for 6. So who knows? Maybe McCarthy will be fine. But there's still, until he goes out there and proves himself, there's a chance he's not going to. And here's the guy who's proven. And I just feel like they want to see. Let's see how he responds to this challenge.
Yeah.
Let's see
That's right.
how he does. Let's see how accurate he is. Let's see how committed he is. Let's see if he rises to the moment. If he doesn't break glass in event of emergency, here comes Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota. And again, I think it's a combination of avoiding the offseason program and letting it play out, because Aaron Rodgers has pasta and meatballs telling him, if he even eats pasta and meatballs, and he should, telling him that there's reason to wait for the Vikings.
Yeah, I think so. I do. It's tough. And, you do sacrifice some people in Pittsburgh kind of being annoyed and hating you in the time being to make that type of sacrifice to wait for Minnesota. But I certainly understand it. I understand him, and you're right. They're going to know. They're going to know pretty quick with J.J. McCarthy. They're going to go, wait, he's attacking this the right way. He's practicing the right way, the right attitude, right? He physically looks the way we want him to look, all of that. I don't think it'll take too long to figure out whether they feel comfortable with him or not. And, again, that's why I think Aaron Rodgers is delaying this whole thing.
Last point, a couple of weeks ago, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the Vikings GM, did not rule out.
Right.
Did not rule out. If it was done, if it was dead, it would be clear. It's done, it's dead, it's not happening. We are not in the Aaron Rodgers business. We never will be. They haven't said that. So we'll see how it goes. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.